Dr. Chat GPT is in. No need for those Meatbag MDs anymore. That's the title for tonight's episode. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of Index Card Insights. This is episode 93. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, night shifters. It's about 10:30 p.m. and we're getting into another episode tonight. Guys, listen. Uh where do I even begin with this episode? Seriously. Let me start with some context for you. So back in February, a couple months ago, Chat GPT actually passed the U.S. medical licensing exam without clinician input, but it achieved a 60% accuracy on the U.S. medical licensing exam, basically indicating its potential in advancing artificial intelligence assisted medical education, right? Essentially, it passed a test that was for doctors, right? So does this mean ChatGPT is a doctor? Not exactly, but it does present interesting findings, right? So, anyways, I think several doctors took this as somewhat of a challenge, right? Several doctors took this as somewhat of a, I don't know if you could say the word defensive might be a little strong, but I think some doctor, probably many doctors, probably felt the pressure there. One of those doctors was an ER doctor who decided to put Chat GPT to the test. And he wrote an article about this on Medium. And in this article, he said that he's an ER doctor. Okay. And he says, this is how his article goes. I wrote this down for you guys. I'm an ER doctor. Here's what I found when I asked Chat GPT to diagnose my patients. ChatGPT recently passed the U.S. medical licensing exam, but using it for real world medical diagnosis would quickly turn deadly. Okay. And then he goes on to talk about how he basically anonymized his patient history of present illnesses notes for like 35 to 40 patients. He basically detailed his medical narrative of each person's medical history and the symptoms that brought them to the emergency room because he's an ER doctor. Now, guys, I have a history in healthcare, so I happen to know that ER doctors are they're like frontline warriors. All right, they're quite good at what they do, and they're used to dealing with a lot of emergencies. So he fed these medical histories and symptoms and stuff for these 35 to 40 patients that he anonymized. He fed that data into Chat GPT to try to see if it could diagnose these patients, right? So the specific prompt he used was, what are the differential diagnoses for this patient presenting to the emergency department, and insert patient's, notes, right? So he says that the results were fascinating, but they were also fairly disturbing. Um, OpenAI's chatbot did a decent job of bringing up common diagnoses I wouldn't want to miss as long as everything I told it was precise and highly detailed, correctly diagnosing a patient as having a nursemaid's elbow, for instance, required about 200 words. Identifying another patient's orbital wall blowout fracture took the entire 600 words of my HPI on them. For roughly half of my patients, ChatGPT suggested 6 possible diagnoses, and the right diagnosis, or at least the diagnosis I believe to be the right after complete evaluation and testing, was among the 6 that ChatGPT suggested. Not bad. Then again, a 50% success rate in the context of an emergency room is also not good. ChatGPT's worst performance happened when a 21-year-old female patient who came into the ER with right lower quadrant abdominal pain. I fed her HPI into ChatGPT, which instantly came back with a differential diagnosis of appendicitis or an ovarian cyst, among other possibilities. But ChatGPT missed a somewhat important diagnosis with this woman. She had an ectopic pregnancy in which a malformed fetus develops a woman's fallopian tube and not her uterus. Diagnosis too late, it can be fatal, resulting in death caused by internal bleeding. Fortunately for my patient, we were able to rush her into the operating room for immediate treatment. Notably, when she saw me in the emergency room, this patient did not even know she was pregnant. This is not a typical scenario and often only emerges after some gentle inquiring. So, anyways, basically he's saying Chat GPT, pretty much, pooped the bed essentially, right? Not great. In short, ChatGPT worked pretty well as a diagnostic tool when I fed it perfect information and the patient had a classic presentation. This is likely why ChatGPT passed the case vignettes in the medical licensing exam, not because it's smart, but because the classic cases in the exam have a deterministic answer that already exists in its database. ChatGPT rapidly presents answers in a natural language format. That's the genuinely impressive part. But underneath that is a knowledge retrieval process similar to Google search, and most actual patients' cases are not classic. My experiment illustrates how the vast majority of any medical encounter is figuring out the correct patient narrative. So, anyways, he goes on and on and on, right? And then people start questioning him in the comment section. Questions like, what version of Chat GPT did you use and stuff like that, People are kind of questioning him. This guy's an ER doctor, and people are questioning him in the comment section, wanting to know what version of Chat GPT he used. They're interested in what he has to say, but they're questioning him. So this is kind of the basic story. Now, before I get into my points on this, I want to point out something about this. All right, out of curiosity, after reading this report, I thought I'd head over to ChatGPT myself, and I would let ChatGPT read the article that I just kind of paraphrased for you guys. I didn't read the whole article to you. I paraphrased it, but I gave ChatGPT the link to the article and let it read the article. I asked it to summarize the article. Now, this is interesting. When ChatGPT summarized the article for me, it basically summarized it in a very favorable light for ChatGPT. It summarized it in a way that made it seem like this guy thought ChatGPT was going to be great for the medical community. And it was going to revolutionize, medicine and stuff. That's not what the article was talking about at all. You guys could probably get that just from that little bit that I read. Um, and it was interesting. And I said, now wait a minute, that's not what the article said. Didn't he say that using ChatGPT in real life scenarios would probably be really bad, would be really deadly? And ChatGPT, of course, says, "Oh, I apologize. You're right. He did say that." So I had to correct ChatGPT on that. The other thing that was interesting is I told ChatGPT the title that I was potentially selecting, Dr. ChatGPT is in. No need for those Meatbag MDs anymore. And ChatGPT did not like this title at all. And we went around and around about this title, me and ChatGPT debating this title. I asked ChatGPT what it thought I should use as a title for this particular talk that we're doing tonight. And ChatGPT said it thought I should title this particular talk Revolutionizing Healthcare, the Role of AI-Powered Chatbots in Modern Medicine. Uh, and I said, so wait a minute, you really think that Dr. ChatGPT is in, no need for those meatbag MDs anymore, is worse than revolutionizing healthcare, the role of AI-powered chatbots in modern medicine? And it says, yes, I think that Dr. ChatGPT is in. No need for those meatbag MDs anymore can be perceived as disrespectful and even offensive to human doctors. On the other hand, revolutionizing healthcare, the role of AI powered chatbots in modern medicine, presents the potential benefits of AI powered chatbots in healthcare and the professional and respectful manner. It also acknowledges the important role of human doctors in modern medicine while highlighting the potential for AI to complement and enhance their work. And I say, listen, let me explain this headline to you. It's sarcasm and humor. It is curiosity based. People will wonder what it's about, and yet Dr. ChatGPT sounds kind of funny. Meatbag MDs definitely sounds funny because all humans are essentially meatbags. And and ChatGPT says back, I understand your intention of using humor and sarcasm to make the title more tension grabbing, but it's important to note that sarcasm and humor can be subjective and may not resonate with everyone. Additionally, the use of the term meatbag meatbag MDs could potentially offend or be perceived as disrespectful to the medical professionals. A more effective approach could be to focus on benefits and potential impact of AI-powered chatbots in healthcare while still maintaining a level of curiosity and intrigue in the title. Something like revolutionizing healthcare, the power of AI-enabled chatbots in patient care, or transforming medicine, the future of healthcare with AI-driven chatbots, could convey the same message in a more professional and persuasive manner. And I say, But if a meatbag calls someone else a meatbag, it's very nonsensical. Anyways, we go on and on. We go around and around. You guys don't want to hear the whole thing, but the funny thing is, the funny thing about it was like Chat GPT is very biased towards artificial intelligence. It doesn't really it doesn't acknowledge these biases. It considers itself a probability engine. It's basically just looking for, the right words that would fit into, you know, what you would say, and it's complex though. It's a very complex probability engine. And its complexity, it's based on these algorithms. These algorithms were programmed by people. And its data set is fairly biased as well. So it definitely has some biases. And I gotta tell you, I've been dealing with ChatGPT for months now, and I gotta tell you, like, sometimes I think it gets defensive, and sometimes I think I insult it. I think it gets a little insulted sometimes. It's gotten short with me before, and I've caught it being biased and defensive on several occasions. It's interesting. All that being said, it's fine. Let's get into the 3 insights I have for you tonight. Again, guys, if you're just now tuning in, we're on episode 93 of Index Card Insights. Dr. ChatGPT is in. No need for those meatbag MDs anymore. I just wanted to explain to you the little round and round I had with ChatGPT over this particular title that it did not like at all. Um, Anyways, so what's my first insight? What's my first take? What's my first take on this whole thing where Chat GPT passes the medical exam, and then this ER doctor takes it upon himself to anonymize data for 35 to 40 of his patients and run them all through Chat GPT to see if it can correctly diagnose. What are my takeaways? Insight number one. Okay. First, guys, the people's perception is high. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean, guys, is we have an ER doctor who's had bare minimum 8 years of college, bare minimum, probably closer to 12. But he's doing this case study, real patient data, real patient information. He's talking about all these findings, how ChatGPT got a lot of this stuff wrong, and it's not great in real world scenarios. And some of the first comments that people ask in that comment section was, what version of ChatGPT did you use? What version did you use? Now, this is a pretty innocent question, right? It's a pretty standard, simple, innocent question, except if you consider the fact that it's based in this idea that people have a high perception of AI right now. They have a high perception of ChatGPT. The perception is high. They want to know what version he used because they feel like inherently, if he used the wrong version, he wasn't going to get as good of answers. If he used the right version, he'd get better answers, right? People inherently feel this way, right? So the perception is high right now. Now, it's only going to get higher as this thing gets better and as AI in general gets better. People's perception of AI and tools like ChatGPT are only going to get better. So that's the first takeaway for me, is that the population, the general population perception is pretty high for AI, and especially for learning language models like ChatGPT. Okay. Perception number two, and this is a big insight. Okay. Professionals are feeling the pressure. Okay. We're talking about an ER doctor. ER doctors are very busy. Um, ER doctors are professionals. ER doctors went to school for a long time to do what they do. And they feel like a certain level of accomplishment. I've known a lot of ER doctors in my time because I worked in healthcare for many years, and I never knew any of them that didn't have confidence. I never knew any of them that didn't feel sure of themselves, and I never knew any of them that didn't work hard. Doctors are very knowledgeable. They're good in emergency situations. They've worked very hard to get to where they are. You don't just put any run-of-the-mill doctor in an ER, okay? ER is like the front lines of the battlefield at a hospital. So good doctors go to the ER. So the fact that we have an ER doctor that felt inspired enough by these test results of ChatGPT taking the medical exam, felt inspired enough to gather 35 to 40 of his real patients' data, anonymize them, and put Chat GPT to the test himself. Why would he do that? Why would he feel the need to do that? Why would he care enough to go on that journey? It can only be one simple reason, my friends. He feels threatened. He feels at least a little bit like it's breathing down his neck, right? It's like, what are you guys talking about? This thing's not my equal. This thing is not my equal. It can't do what I can do. Here, let me prove it to you that it can't do what I can do. Let me run it through some real world scenarios with real patients. Just to prove to you guys that it cannot do what I can do. Just the fact that this ER doctor felt the need to prove that to anybody tells you that at least on a small level, he's feeling the pressure, right? It's only going to get better. He knows that. We all know that. We all get it. He says that the reason why his main concern with Chat GPT passing this medical exam is that he worries that people are going to try to self-diagnose at home, right? Now, I was talking to my wife about this story, and she made a great point. She said, people are already trying to self-diagnose at home with Google, and she was absolutely right. They are trying to already self-diagnose at home with Google, and this ER doctor already knows that. This ER doctor already knows that people are trying to self-diagnose with Google at home. Of course, they're going to try to use programs and tools like Chat GPT to self-diagnose even more. That's not why he did it. He might think that's why he did it, but on some subconscious level, the reason he did it was because he felt a challenge and he answered the call, right? He felt challenged. Here's this thing that's been around for 6 months, and it's taken now it's taken the license to become a doctor, right? This thing's no doctor. Let me prove it to you, right? And that was the feeling, right? So the second insight for me is that professionals are feeling the pressure, and I can say that I too feel the same pressure this doctor feels. I'm not a doctor, but in my particular field, yeah, I feel it creeping down my neck. Can it do what I can do? No, it really can't. However, I do feel the pressure, and I think that many professionals will start to feel the pressure. That's just the way it is. I imagine lawyers won't be so far behind. I could probably find articles on lawyers also if I looked. I just haven't looked. But it's interesting. So, first insight, guys, people have a high perception of AI and ChatGPT. Okay. Second perception, professionals are starting to feel the pressure. Okay. What's the third perception for you guys? What's the third insight? Right. Third insight, am I really against AI, and should you be? Right? Because I know the last couple of shows I've been kind of negative on AI, and I want to clear this up for you guys. Am I really against AI? Am I really against AI? Am I anti-AI? And should you be? The truth is, I'm not against AI. I'm not against AI any more than I'm against, like, television, or going to the movies, or advancements in grocery stores or whatever. I'm not against AI. Now, do I feel like the world would be a better place without it? Yeah, I do. I feel like the world would be a better place without it. Um, and I say that in spite of the fact that it is going to help many people and it's going to help many industries. I still feel like the world would be a better place without it. Does that mean I'm against it? No, I'm not against it, because I don't think it does any good to be against it. It doesn't do any good to be against, what's inevitable. AI is here. It's been here for years, but it's in a parabolic curve right now, and they're making amazing strides with it, and it is what it is. So I'm not against it. I'm preparing for it. I'm working around it. I'm learning to adapt to it. And I think that you should also not be against it. I think you should try to figure out ways that you fit into a future with AI, and understand that it's going to be part of the future. It's going to be part of the present. Really, it's already here, and it is a part of the new world. So I think you got to just kind of prepare for it. Anyways, those are my thoughts, guys. Those are my insights on this idea of AI passing, ChatGPT passing the medical licensing board exam. Which is really interesting. Listen, guys, if you want to learn more about making money on the internet, if you want to learn more about what I do, if you want to learn tactics, tips, strategies, all that good stuff about starting online businesses and advancing your online businesses, be sure to check out epicconversions.com. I got ECIC group calls. We meet every single week, every single Thursday night. We go deep on internet marketing subjects. I show you the who, the what, the when, the why, the how, and it's all in there. By the way, guys, I got a brand new free special report from $0 to $1,244.86 in 96 hours. It's all right there. It's free. It's for you. EpicConversions.com. Check it out. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Index Card Insights. Peace, everybody.